All right, welcome everybody to week 17, day 1. There's no finals next week. Instead of finals, just come to your regular class period. If you can, if you have a final during that time, not a big deal. Just make an appointment with me, show off your project, and show off your mod. This is the big things. All of your programming assignments need to be done as well by next week. So, have I seen your project yet? I don't. I know you sent it to me. I haven't looked at it though. So, like I said, just during finals week, that's when I'm going to be doing all the grading. So if you need to take any more time on it, just take a look at it then. Unless you want feedback early or something like that. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about Unreal Engine 5, and that's downloading currently. Maybe Twinmotion, we could probably talk about that. So, yeah, long story short is that just do something cool for your project, do something cool for your mod. I want to see something that can help get you employed at a game company. You know, I want to see something that you can show off. You know, put in your portfolio and showcase it to people. You know. So, yeah. All right, we can take a look at it in a little bit. I'm downloading Unreal Engine 5. I've been people have been asking when we're going to switch this class over to Unreal Engine 5, and it's really, I think, a question of when it's stable enough to use. And given how many bugs there are in Unreal Engine 4, a prototype version of Unreal Engine 5 doesn't fill me with a whole lot of confidence. And you know, like is it just going to be a train wreck basically? So I'm going to check it out now. It might be next semester we'll switch to UE5, probably summer, maybe even fall next year. It just depends on how it goes. There's some nice things about it, though. You can see the previous lecture I did with IS50A. I was talking a lot about it. But big things are the lighting engine is really nice. Let's see. Yeah, the lumen system is really amazing, and so the lighting in UE5 is really nice, and it's pretty fast too. It's a lot faster than a lot of the pre-calculated things we would do in UE4. Nanite is their geometry streaming system, and so what happens is right now you'll have different LODs, level of details on an object, and as you walk closer to it, they pop in greater and greater detail. With Nanite, what happens is as you walk closer to something, it streams in the triangles. And so you can have a high fidelity mesh, and as you walk closer to it, it pulls in more triangles, and as you walk away, it pulls out triangles that you can't see. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And this actually caused the UE4, the Unreal Engine people, to talk to the Xbox people and the PlayStation people and get them to redo their next generation consoles to support this, because this requires you to be able to access your hard drive immediately and immediately pull data off in real time, which is not something we typically do. Typically what we do is we have a hard drive, and the hard drive has to spin up, and you have to seek around and find the right place and pull data off. And so there's typically a loading screen, right? You load a game, and then there's this bar that goes across, and that's as the disk is spinning and pulling data into RAM, and then you can access it. Then you can play. But this is going to radically change how games are made and streamed, and eliminate loading screens. So, pretty cool. And you also don't have to worry about LOD popping and things like that. So it's pretty darn cool. Where is the partitioning? Yeah. So level streaming we talked about earlier in this class. So that's going to basically be on by default. Your levels are... UE5 seems really oriented around a lot more of open world stuff. And so one of the really neat things about this new world level streaming system, the world partition system, is that when you do collaboration with other people, instead of you needing to check out the entire map and then check it back in, which is a big check out, a big check in, and nobody else can access the map in the meantime, or they can't change the map. They can access it, they can't change it. In the meantime, instead, each cell is its own level, essentially. And so if you were putting flowers down here, somebody else could be putting monsters over here, and it works. So that's pretty pretty huge because the collaboration, as I'm sure you guys are all aware, is so terrible. Data layers is really neat. You can actually have different meshes and things like that on the same chunk. So this was done in like Wrath of the Lich King in World of Warcraft, where it'd be the same map, but then things would change. It's like you would do a quest and then like a castle would be destroyed or whatever. And so this now exists on Unreal Engine 5 where you have data layers. And so, you know, you can enter the dark world and it's the same level, but all of a sudden the lighting's all dark and there's spider webs or whatever, you know, in it. And so you can turn these on and off dynamically by, in the demo, that she touches a thing and then it switches over the geometry. It's pretty cool. Pretty neat stuff. Level instancing. Oh yeah, the inverse kinematics. I forgot to tell the earlier class about that. This is really cool. So inverse kinematics is the... so what is forward kinematics? So forward kinematics is what you normally do. Rotate the shoulder this much, rotate the arm this much, rotate the wrist this much, rotate the fingers this much, and there you go. That's your final pose. With inverse kinematics, rather than that, what you do is you say, reach out, reach the hand for this stuffed animal here. And then the solver will figure out which joint angles you need for your shoulder, your elbow, your wrist, and your fingers in order to reach out and grab the head of Emperor Foxtrot here. Okay, so, and Steph just came back in, so might be wondering why there's a stuffed animal. Inverse kinematics is the way of the engine figuring out where your joint angles need to be in order to touch a certain target. This is really nice if you are doing things like doors. Well, you know, the cheap way of doing doors we've done before, you walk over a trigger and the door slides up and you walk through. But if you're doing a game like The Last of Us, the characters actually reach forward and touch the handle and turn the handle. And that's hard. You know, procedural animation would be nice. Yeah, they've got some cool stuff with that too. So so basically, if you want to reach out for a handle, you know, your character could be anywhere in the world, right? You know, you could do a reaching animation where he always just reaches forward and goes like this. But what if they're not what if they're sideways? You know, he's going to reach off into space and just grab a air, and then the door opens. Oh, shoot. No stream. Okay. Oh, just talking. Anyway. So, yeah. All right. So let me show you guys again. Here's Emperor Foxtrot. Here's my shoulder. Here's my elbow. Here's my wrist. Forward kinematics would be like rotate the shoulder this much, elbow this much, wrist this much, hands this much. With inverse kinematics, you're given a target, and then it matches the target. And so if you have a door handle, you can reach out and grab the door handle and turn the door handle. Like it's pretty cool stuff. So yeah, or if you're walking downstairs, having the feet actually on the steps as you go down, you can do that currently in Unreal Engine 4. There's IK solvers, inverse kinematic solvers, and you do things like a trace line out of your foot. You find out how far down your foot has to go with a minimum of, like, I don't know, your foot here and your foot there, you know, maximum and minimum extension. And then it'll be like, okay, I need to move the foot down 10 centimeters, and then it does an IK solving. And so you can do all that stuff already, but they've got some pretty cool stuff coming up in Unreal Engine 5 as far as inverse kinematics goes. So yeah, the full body IK looks pretty cool for doing things like where do your feet go? Where does your hand go? You know, that kind of stuff, and it blends them all together. And then with animations, you can have animations adapt to the world around you. It's like in the demo, they had the main character vaulting over different height obstacles. And so instead of having just one animation, the animation would know how big the thing is, and then it would adapt to it, which is pretty cool as well. Yeah. Motion warping is, yeah. So GIF. There we go. There you go. There's that. So it's the same animation, but it knows how tall the obstacle is. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. Their audio stuff's pretty cool. Like right now, Unreal Engine's audio functionality is kind of basic. They can do like a reverb, and the main thing I use their audio cue system for is to have slight variations in the audio. It's like every time you have a gunshot, rather than sounding exactly the same time every time, I will randomly move the pitch up a little bit or pitch down a little bit. Like I'll mess with it a little bit so it doesn't sound exactly the same thing, the same way every time, which is a nice little realism effect, you know? Because in real life, nothing sounds exactly the same thing. If you make it too weird, like a person's voice goes, "Hi," you know, and it just jumps all over the place. But a little bit of variation like that actually makes a game sound a lot better. And there's a lot more stuff you can do on Unreal Engine 5. So that's pretty cool too. Physics, I haven't played with that at all. I don't know. Flute simulation sounds pretty cool. Yeah, haven't played with that. Cloth, I've been messing with cloth a lot recently, and basically I haven't decided yet whether or not I want to teach it in this class, or you know, next semester. Obviously, you guys are basically done for now. The way it works right now, like let's say you have a flagpole and a flag. You create a skeletal mesh. So the pole is a skeleton, and then the flag would just be sticking off of it. And what you do is you import it. You got the bone, which is the pole, and then you go into the cloth tool and you kind of spray paint the part of the mesh that is the cloth, and that gets marked as cloth. And then the cloth engine will run, and the thing will flop down. You can add a wind node, and then the thing will blow in the breeze and things like that. So better cloth is kind of exciting as well. The reason why I don't teach is because I'm not a modeler. And so I would just basically just have to use other people's assets, which could just be cloth already. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, all right. Yeah, chaos destruction is pretty cool too. So how things shatter and stuff like that. We've played with the destructible meshes, right? Right. We did destructible meshes, right? I think so. Early in the semester. The Juggernaut, yeah. Okay. Physics fields, so cool. Modular gameplay. Right, yeah, you can put entire gameplay modes into an object basically and turn them on and off. Let's see if there's anything else important here. Yeah, that's really important too. Yeah, once you start actually making a game for real, when your performance starts dropping, it's really important to try and figure out why. So like I've been playing a lot of Wrath of the Righteous recently. It's a pretty faithful, I guess, remake of the Pathfinder path. Glowing Blue Man. Dr. Manhattan. Blue Man Group. So anytime your game slows down, in Act 4 of Wrath of the Righteous, the performance just goes to terrible. Like the game's not like a hardcore 3D game at all. It's a top-down 2D game, and the frame rate drops like 7 frames a second when you're not doing anything. It's just really garbage. And so that's funny. And so having tools like this, like NVIDIA has a tool called Insight. And you can figure out why your thing is slowing down, right? And so it'll sort of analyze a frame and figure out where you're spending your time, what's eating up your frame rate, and that lets you know where you need to focus your time, right, on fixing it. like the developer time. So a lot of times you don't know why it's slow. Is it the AI code? Like what, what's going on, right? So having better analysis tools for that is really nice. Don't care about that. Deferred rendering is kind of cool. So maybe I can talk about that real fast. Forward rendering versus deferred rendering. So we talked a little bit this semester about the rasterization pipeline, right? And the ray tracing pipeline. One thing we should probably talk about or fall. Okay. Is forward rendering versus deferred rendering. So with forward rendering, it's basically the normal process. If you've got some cube or something, you render it, and this is going to be split into triangles, and so you're going to have visible on the screen, I guess six triangles, and then you texture them and light them. I don't know how deep we got into that, but basically all of these things are going to be lit. I'm going to maybe, and that's going to be a little bit lighter. See if I can do shading on this. So if you have a light kind of over here, this part's going to be a little more lit than this part back here. I don't know if the shadowing's coming through. But basically when you dump it to the screen, you pull the texture data, and then you look at the normal. The normal is the vector pointing out of the surface, and you dot product it with the light, the displacement vector towards the light. It should be like that. Let's see, I have a light bulb right here. And the dot product, which is just the cosine of the angle here, tells you how much light hits the surface. You have to do that for every point. So every point on the surface, because you have a normal map, right? The normal map can say, well, this is actually pointing this way, and this one's pointing this way. So you do a lot of these things. And then let's say you end up drawing a plane on top of the whole thing, right? So let's say you got all that effort, and then there's just this big, giant purple wall in front of it. So all that work you did with texturing it and lighting it is all wasted. And so forward rendering is bad when you have a lot of overdraw. When you're doing multiple calls to the same place and overriding your hard work. Forward rendering can be quite painful. Deferred rendering does none of the light, especially because you've got one light here, right? But in reality, you can have a purple light over here, and you can have a rainbow-colored light over here, and you've got a galaxy light over here. And so if you've got, let's say, 1,000 lights, for every point on here, you're going to be doing 1,000 dot products. Okay? And that's painful. That's really painful. Especially when there's this giant purple wall that just covers up all of it. You go into all that work figuring out the contribution of light from all 1,000 of the lights, and it's not used. You just throw it away. And so with forward rendering, forward rendering is fine with a few lights. And there's something called forward rendering plus that kind of helps. But, well, it more than helps. It actually is quite a nice solution to it. But basically, your standard forward rendering where you just do the pipeline that we talked about, it breaks with lots of lights. Okay, so there's something called deferred rendering, which renders, it basically figures out the geometry of the scene. So after, at the end of the day, you're going to have some scene. You got like maybe a person standing here, and you've got a box in front of them, and you've got I don't know, a chair or something. Okay. And what happens is it kind of figures out all this stuff first, and this includes kind of all the geometry data and the normals and the whatever else you need, and then it lights it afterwards. So it does everything kind of except for the lighting, and then it lights everything afterwards. Because then even if you have a million objects behind this one, they don't matter because they're not in the final scene. So you kind of do all the geometry culling and the Z buffer stuff first, and then afterwards you do the lighting. And you lose some things here, like you can't cast a shadow from behind a box, right? And so some of the ambient occlusion algorithms don't work with deferred rendering because these things don't exist anymore, you know? And so ambient occlusion, if you guys remember that, like let's say you've got a surface that's got cracks in it, like a cracked leather or something. The way ambient occlusion works is at every point, it sends out rays in like every direction. And the percentage that get blocked. And so it'll end up producing a map that is like what areas should have shadows on them, just from that little hemispherical trace at every point. Crisis did a spherical trace, which is a bit weird. So walls would self-shadow themselves because half the points were blocked. But most of them do a hemisphere kind of sticking out from the surface. And so you can't do that if the geometry's gone, right? So you can't. There's some ambient occlusion algorithms that don't work with deferred lighting, but if you've got a lot of lights in here, then you don't want to have to redo all those calculations. Okay, so lit. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of that topic there. Mobile deferred renderer. Distance field ambient occlusion. All right, we just talked about ambient occlusion. VR, who cares? Silicon, who cares? Platform, who cares? Okay, so that's what's kind of upcoming with Unreal Engine 5. One thing I just installed was something called Twinmotion, and if you want to do a mod, well, rather than doing a mod, I will make this available for you as well as a special offer just for this semester. Twinmotion is used for architectural visualization, stuff like that. So you can build a house and stuff. Let's see here. Let's throw some vegetation out there. Let's get some hinoki out there. There we go. And you can put some of those things out, and then have one of them be dead. All right. And let's see. And so basically, if you want to play with this and kind of create a scene, not like create a scene, start a fight. If you want to create a scene in Twinmotion and put together something impressive, I will accept that in lieu of doing a mod. It looks pretty cool, and there's a lot of free data packs and things like that as well. If you go to the marketplace, I don't know if they're still free. Let's check on that. So, are any of you guys interested in doing that? Twinmotion. Let's see where that be. Twinmotion boats pack. Yeah. So all these things you can just drag and drop into there. Perhaps. Yeah. So it'd be kind of a fun thing, and it would help me learn it because I've barely messed with it. Where'd you go? Marketplace. Realistic looking cliff and rock pack. Well, that's cool. That's not what I'm looking for. All right. Black Friday sale. Let's see. Free So if you go to Industries Architecture and then click on Free, then you can find all the free stuff they have available here. Twinmotion material, that's for UE4. ArchViz Explorer, Interactive viewing tools, construction vehicles. Yeah, okay. So basically, put together a scene in Twinmotion, and I will take that in lieu of a mod. Seems kind of fun. I don't know. It's basically just a secret way for me to learn about it. You know. You can see the kinds of things that they do in it. Let's see here. Start learning. Yeah. So, pretty cool stuff, you know. One of the this is something I've kind of meant to do for a while, which is to note that all this game development stuff that we've been doing isn't just for games, right? Like 3D as a field is bigger than video games. Video games is like the poster child, kind of like how video editing, the poster child, is like a Hollywood movie, right? Like when I took my video class, you know, the premise is we're going to be doing TV or film, right? But in reality, like, what have I ended up using my video editing skills for? Well, back in the day, I did some projects and classes where I had to just give a video presentation. I'd use my editing skills to edit things together and do transitions and all this kind of stuff. More recently, apparently, I've become a professional streamer, apparently, as a professor, which I barely edit my videos because it's way too much effort. Like, let's be honest. If I record a 2-hour-long class, editing it into a way that would be like snappy and stuff would be, you know, an order of magnitude more than that, maybe 10, 20 hours of work. So I don't. I just post all my lectures uncut, unedited. You kind of want to watch the videos currently edited. The only edits that I've made is like when some personally identifiable data comes on screen. Like, usually I don't care too much about my own stuff. Like some student like says or posts something, then I come in afterwards and just snip it out. That's the level of editing I do. Oh, you mean like for a class or whatever like that? I don't even know if I still have those. Yeah. So the point is that the same way that like video is more than just TV and Hollywood movies, 3D is more than just video games, right? The sister of a friend of mine worked for Lucas Industrial Light and Magic. Do you guys, before they got bought out by Disney, do you guys know ILM? They were kind of the original 3D company. SGI was the company that made the hardware, Silicon Graphics, and Industrial Light and Magic was George Lucas's 3D animation company. And they did a lot of the 3D art for Star Wars, obviously. But they also did just contract work. Like people would, you know, come to them and be like, hey, I need this done. And she worked for them. I don't know if she's still there. Silicon Graphics and 64 hardware. Yeah, back in the day, man. Founded in 1975. Wow. Yeah. It's great to do the Star Wars art, yeah. If you've seen Star Wars, like they have the targeting computer, it's got like these 3D graphics on it that are really advanced for 77. Based out of the Presidio. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so it is now part of Disney. Okay, so they're still around, I guess. Upcoming stuff. The Batman, Jurassic World Domination, Thor, Love and Thunder. Alright, so they're still around. Still doing stuff. Finding Ohana. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind. So yeah, they do a lot of stuff. And I had fun talking to her. I've only met her one time, so I have no idea if she's still there or anything. Yeah, she did commercials, was what she did. And yeah, so basically she was a 3D person. It's like, oh, that's cool. I do 3D. You know, nothing at all resembling what you do. You know, I make games. You know, and so their whole existence is different, right? Because they don't care about frame rate. You know what I mean? Like, if you need to spend a night rendering a single frame, you can do that. Who cares? Like, they have tons of hardware, millions of dollars of hardware to help them render quickly, but it doesn't have to be real time. There's a lot of stuff that's coming up where they're doing more real time stuff, but basically they just pre-render everything at high res, and and so all the stuff that you're learning here would also help if you went into 3D commercials or movie making, right? All the SFX and stuff like that. Almost all of that is special effects these days. They rarely use practical effects. Still do, I guess, but best of 99. King Cruel. Count those triangles. Count those triangles. Yeah, and N64 is the first 3D graphics console, and so you can see here. Can I pause that? No. You can see here the lighting. You can count the triangles, right? You can see the lighting on it. It's not textured. It's a solid color, and it's a non-textured but lit triangle. And you can see the lighting. It's probably using Phong shading right there. Pretty typical specular highlight there. So yeah, so pretty bad graphics back then, but it was revolutionary for the time. So yeah, if you want to dig into that, then this is used in architecture, right? And there's jobs in that as well, because if you're going to be selling, our college a new building, right? Did you guys know this? We're going to be breaking ground probably in March is the current plan. We're going to be getting a new building on campus, which I cut sticks with those triangles. Did you guys know that? We're getting a third building. So, not like, I've even been on campus for almost 2 years now. This is my third semester being all online. And if you look at the enrollment numbers for next semester, like out of 59 students enrolled in CSI 41, 13 of them are in person. 46 are online. So I don't even know if we need a new building. You know what I mean? Like, let's do this all online. I don't know. Although I kind of like getting out of my chair. I feel like I'm permanently glued to this thing now. So yeah, we're getting a new building, and so part of it, there's architects, right? There's these people who walk around New York with rolled up blueprints. Do you know how many TV show have the main character is like an architect or something like that? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? For some reason, it's like the go-to profession for whatever reason. Like How I Met Your Mother and all these shows, they always have just, what do you do? I'm an architect. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. That is actually kind of cool. My grandfather was an architect, among other things. And to be fair, it is kind of cool. But it's the kind of profession that for some reason just plays really well with TV audiences or whatever. And they always walk around with these blueprints in their backpack, It's kind of like, failed artists become architects. They're going to put it in the field area that always floods. That's correct, yeah. So hopefully they'll not have it flood anymore. Hopefully build some drains there or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's where the third building's going. And so, anyway, my point is that architects have to hire viz people, right? Because if you're going to be selling a building to people, which is expensive, right? Maybe even for a house, right? But for a mall or an airport or something, you're going to hire somebody like you guys. You guys could do this, You can place objects and drag them around and do transparency and stuff like that. It's a different field. It's different from gaming. You don't have to have chaos destruction enabled to build a apartment complex, because hopefully they don't want to see what it looks like when it gets blown up by Godzilla. That different. It's all 3D, but there's different subfields within it. And so if you want to do that, right? I'll take that in lieu of one of your things. Okay. Build a theme park instead of a hospital. Yeah, but even still, like, theme parks really shouldn't be destroyed. You know, hopefully, like, here's what Space Mountain looks like after, you know, it gets hit by an asteroid. You know, like, usually that's not part of your calculus, you know, when you're trying to build something out, you know. So, yeah, so architects will hire somebody like you. You know? Remodelers. If you're going to redo your kitchen, they typically will put together a visualization of what your kitchen will look like after you remodel it. And so you can start with a photo of somebody's house, right? Ooh, that's nice. It's a nice kitchen. I like it. Hardwood floors, marble counter. Got these white, kind of a cream colored with some nice dark handles on it. Sexy. I like it. Vent over here. They got some crown molding. Nice. It's quite nice. I like the stain. Like, even on this, you see how there's like a stain or an inlay, whatever you want to call it, on the edges there. It's nice. Got a counter height bar over here and a kitchen table over there. Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah. So what they'll do is they'll take your kitchen and visualize it with whatever cabinets you pick out, whatever crown molding, whatever countertops you pick out, and that's a thing. That's a real thing, because kitchen remodels are not cheap. I've been thinking about doing mine, which is why I know about this. But like you can see, before and after, right? People do that, you know. It's pretty wild how different that is. Which one do you guys like better? Do you like the blue one or the wood one? Which one's before? Which one's after? I don't know. I think the wood's before and the blue's after, but I kind of like the wood look better, honestly. They began by, they removed the old, so they just put in shelves. I don't know. I kind of like that look better. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. You get the idea. So, any questions about that? Use your powers of 3D to build a scene. Blue one looks better because it's better lit. The wood look is nice, yeah. So, there's a whole career out there. And you know, that's one of the things that I've been trying to do last semester and this semester is get you guys into a place where you can get a job. Right? So, you know, there's nothing wrong with working at Barnes and Noble or wherever it is you're working. But you know, there's a lot of nice, well-paying jobs in 3D. If you're interested in doing this kind of stuff, you should probably take the modeling class. 3D modeling, we have a Blender class on campus. I definitely take that. And there's a 3D printing class, because that's a whole thing too. And that's another use for 3D is prototype. You can actually, sculpt, Emperor Foxtrot here. If I don't drop him, you can sculpt Emperor Foxtrot in 3D and print it. That's a whole thing. 3D printing, I think, is going to become even more important over the years. And you want to get your master's in Teach CS. I'm not going through those interviews, high demand. What interviews? Job interviews? There's a lot of demand, yeah, for people that know this kind of stuff, and 3D modeling is used not just for making D&D miniatures. This is actually a company that I was going to, let's see, what's it called here? Forge, maybe. I was actually in the process of making essentially this company when they came out, and I'm like, ah, damn it. That's this is literally the company that I wanted to make. I actually have books around here on you know, I was going through on how to do this, and basically what it is you build a 3D D&D model. You can switch out the head, switch out the ears, and so all they have is just a bunch of different, you know, art, you know, assets, hair, pointy, you know, and you just layer them all together, and an elf with a beard. Now that's that's a bit weird. Clothing, chest, I don't know. Give him some leafy stuff. That's an elf thing, right? And then then you go to buy, and you can get a roughed out plastic one. That's 3D. It's like a 3D printed rough plastic. You can get premium plastic, which looks a little nicer. It's not. It's got a higher res, 100 micron layer. These are 50. Yeah, so twice the resolution on them. Color plastic, bronze, which is really cool. I've got a couple of these. They're $100 each though. So you have to really like your character to get a bronze out of it. So my main character in 5th edition D&D, I had trouble. I was trying to find a mini for him. He's a cleric that uses a quarterstaff to beat people to death and a shield, and I just couldn't find a single miniature that matched that requirement. And so I ended up going to Hero Forge, a company that I wanted to make, but hey, they did it, so I don't have to. And printed it in bronze. It looks great. Dude's got a cool heroic pose. You can change the poses on these things, of course. And yes. Whoa. And so he's got a cool heroic pose. He's got exactly the stuff that he wears in the game, and I used it when I played 5th edition D&D back in the pre-pandemic days. 3D modeling is solely for D&D. But yeah, like a lot of people in industry, a lot of the like if you're going to work for a company that makes stuff, it's very common to prototype something and you rough it out on a 3D printer, and you just can pick it up in your hand and look at it like, okay, you know, we're making a new remote controller or something. You 3D print it. You're like, it's a little thick. Like I can't wrap my hands around it, you know. And so then you throw the thing away because it cost you $1 of plastic or whatever to make. And so people that know how to do that is a skill, you know. And I've taught it to teachers before, actually. So I taught them how to do 3D printing, and science teachers, so they could do it with their students. You know? And Rafiki, yeah. So what kind of high demand are you talking about, Betancourt? Yeah, like this is 3D. You know, it's not gaming. I mean, okay, it's gaming. It's D&D gaming. It's not a 3D game, but it's 3D. You know, and so look, it's shadowed, it's lit, it's a background, right? All the skills that went into, you know, making a video game would be useful. Oh, not all the skills. You don't need destruction and stuff like that, but you know what I mean? Like, so what I've been trying to teach you guys is a general set of knowledge and things like that, because I'd love to see you guys work either in computer science or in game development or in 3D or in VR. That's a whole thing, right? Yeah. The interviews for computer science teachers is not hard, Betancourt. Computer science teachers are in such high demand that maybe that's what you're trying to say. Metaverse, yeah, metaverse is like coming on. Like, I don't know anybody personally who's excited for the metaverse, but given how many billions of dollars are being dumped into it, like, I hope something cool is going to come out of it. And so being able to do 3D stuff, maybe modeling, maybe game development, maybe like the Roblox thing that Dolan's brother does, that's metaverse, I guess. It's a collection of different 3D worlds that you can hop between and stuff like that. It's a metaverse, you know. Like, I don't know, I'm kind of like 50-50 on it. Like, I did VR game development back in the 90s, and like it didn't take off then, and then it came out again with the Oculus Rift. Was it probably 10 years, 9 years ago? maybe it was 10 years ago. So, 2016. Okay, never mind. So 5 years ago. Really? Was that? That recent? Oh, the Kickstarter was 2012. Yeah, I remember that. Okay. So that's the thing. It was around when Ada was born. The Kickstarter came out for that. Yeah, and that didn't revolutionize the world. So, I don't know. Yeah, so there's a lot of things. So, the underlying stuff, the understanding the linear algebra and the transforms, depending on what you go into, can be useful, might not be, but still maybe good to understand what's happening behind the scenes. Computational geometry, again, it depends on kind of what you do. If you're going to be working on coding, graphics engines, that's one thing. Otherwise, it's just kind of good to know stuff, like how these things work. Because, like in Unreal Engine, you can choose complex collisions or simple collisions. And if you don't really know what that means, you know what I mean? Like, do you use the box or do you use the more accurate, right? So it's a question, right? That when you're making the game, which one do I use, right? Do I use the simple or do I use the complex? And the trade-off is, of course, frame rate versus accuracy. And so when you've kind of had this class and understood, kind of what's going on with collision, and there you can see the things kind of wrapping around it, then you can make better decisions. There's a complex hole around it when you're making a game. Okay, so that's it for today. Visibility, weapon, block. Yeah. So glass blocks weapons, but it doesn't block visibility. Yeah. Blocks visibility, doesn't block a weapon. Yeah. All right. You can check your final project. Yeah, I'll take a look at your stuff right now. Okay. I'll turn off the recording. So I don't know, kind of excited for this stuff. New tool, to play with. So I'll post the learning course here for you guys, and then I will take a look at your stuff and give you feedback on it. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording. I will see you guys on Thursday for our last class, and I'm going to need all of the programming assignments and all that stuff done by Thursday of finals week or so. So if there's any programming assignments you guys haven't done yet, you're more than welcome to do them. I literally don't care about deadlines in this class. The only trouble is you got a week and a half left, so time to knock them out, if you haven't done some of them. And if you need help on them, let me know. We can talk about that on Thursday too. All right, peace out.